Marc, can you just get us started with your thoughts on tonight's match?
Yeah, look, I think what's really, really missing from this team is a consistency. The first half, again, we're talking halves at the minute, and first half, far too passive, didn't affect the ball enough. I mean, the goal's a ridiculous goal. It's a ridiculous goal. We can't concede things like that and hope to build the foundations that we need to go forward. So we have to affect that. And I've just talked in the huddle at the end about accountability. The players must be accountable for that because no coach in the world can stop that goal going in. It needs to be stopped at source by the players. Okay? Second half, we're much better, but we're just out of the game by that time. We give teams too many leads, and that's what we've got to fix.
Okay, open those questions. We'll go to Mike.
Marc, you just mentioned consistency. Obviously, there isn't that much time left once you have those national teamers leave. How do you kind of balance that and kind of approach that, knowing that time is kind of limited as well at the end?
It's a good question. I think you have to be tactically different. So we have to tactically adapt. The first word I said, and I'll keep saying it, is adaptability. So the players have to adapt to what we do have, the strengths of the characters that we have, the strengths of their physicality, their technicality, and then we have to adapt when those players get their opportunity. Behind the scenes, we're working hard to get those players up to speed too. So we're not just thinking, oh no, game 4 comes and all of a sudden, or game 5 comes and all of a sudden we don't know what we're doing. We're already working behind the players that will come in to fill those roles once the national team players go. No excuses, guys. It's a no-excuse culture. We have to create that. That's the hard part at first, because everybody wants to hide behind, it's not my fault, it's their fault. No. Everybody is accountable. That will be the word that rings out of this press conference. Accountability. I'm accountable. The players must be accountable. And I'll clarify once again, it is not about not liking the players personally. It's about accountability in a soccer match to do the things you must do to win the game.
Go to Lisa and Scott.
Can you speak a little bit about Hayley Kopmeyer's performance?
Yeah, look, Hayley was thrown in. Ash gets injured in the warm-up. Hayley's thrown in, and I expect her to be able to perform at that level. She made some vital saves. She's that kind of keeper. We're lucky at Orlando to have that type of keeper, as currently at the minute was a backup keeper, will now play games coming into the next period. So with that injury, obviously, and her experience, I thought that she acquitted herself very well. I've not seen the goal back fully. I don't know whether we can do anything with that, but the shot can't come through at that point, so she's probably unsighted. But apart from that, I thought she was great, and that's what she brings to the team.
Go Scott.
Marc, how do you think your team did today when they had the ball in possession?
Do you know what? I think this is a thing about players in general, most players, regardless of the team, take the badge off. You have a game plan. If it adapts and changes mid-game, the players have to be able to adapt. We still were trying to play a few longer passes when we shouldn't have played. We should have played a little bit shorter and a little bit quicker. But they had a diamond midfield. So if you play into that trap, you get counted on. And so in this league, it's very transitional. So you've got to play quicker around the side of the diamond to get through. And we didn't do that first half. We didn't adapt quickly enough. Second half, we were better. We were much more at the game. And at the minute, it takes a little rocket for me to get them up to the speed of what they should be doing. And they know it. And that's what I think we didn't adapt quickly enough. And that's something I'm accountable for and the players are accountable for.
Mike and Scott again. Mike here first.
Marc, just wanted to see if you can elaborate on the type of injury Ashlyn Harris suffered during warm-ups. And obviously, it's only 4 games in, but the team has still not won its first game of the season. Yeah. Do you look at that, and how pressuring is that if that's the case?
Look, guys, what is pressure? Pressure for me, yeah, I'd love to win a game of football. I'd love to win every game of football. I'm not here to be on the losing end. But you have to understand in every job that you do, there's a process. You have to understand that. Look, I'm adamant that I know what this team needs, but it takes time. And we will add players to this group. But it takes time to identify the right players and not just fill it with a bunch of players that are not going to do the things you want them to do long term. So the pressure, there's high pressure jobs. Military's a high pressure job. Nursing's a high pressure job. Doctoring's a high pressure job. This is a game of football. In my opinion, we've got to be better. So I've got to think less emotionally and fix the things that need to be fixed. and it's silly goals. That's the only thing that's like we've got to take chances at the other end. We've got to get the connections better when we're going through on goal. All coachable, but pressure is it. Look, if you want to add pressure, that's fine. I can deal with that. I'm a big boy.
We'll go to Jeff and then to Scott.
Marc, how close was Ashland maybe ready to go, and how late did that decision-making process take?
So I stayed out of the warm-up, which I usually go down to visit. So we came in straight after warm-up, and we were told that she may or may not be able to make the game, and we were looking at the doctor. I think it was a left knee. I don't know the severity of it. I think you asked that question as well. I do apologise. But no, it was... I don't know the severity of it, but it would have just meant that she would have gone into the game. It would have affected her in the game. So it was right call to make. Ideally not, because we then weren't able to put our third goalkeeper onto the bench. But it is what it is. It happens at time to time. And again, no excuses, no reasons. It has to be... we didn't lose the game because of that today. We lost the game because we didn't perform well enough first half.
We'll go to Scott and then finish up with Anna.
Marc, you talked a lot about these silly goals, is what you said, but it seems like consistent throughout the entire season so far. There's been goals caused by turnovers, bad balls. How does that change? What needs to happen for that to stop those mistakes?
I think it's everyone. I look around the league. It's littered. It's littered with individual mistakes, and I think that's the individual that has to take ownership of those moments, because if you can't, you've got to clear the ball effectively. You've got to block effectively. You've got to affect the ball. If you heard me I'm hoarse from saying affect the ball. And what I mean by that is, if you are dancing in front of somebody, they can still make a decision. We have to affect their decision making. We have to affect their body position. And we weren't doing that. And we call it in our coaching terms, tickle or tackle. And there's too many tickles in their first half. We were tickling the opposition in front of them. And we need to make sure that we tackle people in order to stamp where they're playing on our field. We didn't do that first half. That was the problem. So these are things that, again, I've rambled now, so I've gone off in my own little head about that. What was the final bit of the question? Sorry.
Just what needs to happen for it to change those goals?
Again, accountability. They've not been accountable, this team, for their individual performances. And I will make them accountable. They are privileged, as we all are. I'm privileged to work for a wonderful club, and they're privileged to play for a wonderful club. So there's accountability. And I don't think we should be scared to say that. But, if you're accountable for what you write, how you write it, we're accountable for how we play. And you shouldn't fear that. As soon as you get over the fear of being accountable, it's my fault, I must take ownership, you start to iron out the mistakes. And that's the growth of a person and a footballer. And that will happen at this team, I promise you that.
Anna, last question.
Coach, could you talk about the progress of Orlando's build-up since the first game versus Portland?
Do you know what? So I saw progress from the North Carolina game into the Seattle game, and I'm not talking result. I'm talking consistency of defending positions, consistency of pressure on the opposition, consistency of making the opposition predictable. And then we go into the first half, and we don't do that. And was a backward step. In this process of how we coach and what we want, you take 2 forward, 1 back. I felt we take a step back first half and then 2 forward second half. But we can't waste time. Time is the most precious thing we have, and we cannot waste it, even on a football field. So we have to be accountable first half, stop those silly goals, and then Utah don't walk away with a result tonight. When really, it was a nothing game. I don't think they carved us open from mistakes. We need to fix those, be accountable, and move on. So I think that we've got... Look, I promise now, and I've just said to the fans out there, I will work every minute of every day to make sure these players are accountable to play for this wonderful club. And again, please take me, I do not dislike the players. I love them, but they've got to be accountable for their performance. Let's separate person and performance. Once they are separated, we can get down to the nitty-gritty of, I need to work on this, I need to be better at this to play for this club. Okay?
Thank you, Marc.
Guys, thank you very much.
We'll be bringing in Alex Morgan and Haley Kopmeyer. Need something. You guys got your radios down too? Jeremy, is your radio down? Your radio down? Turn down. Okay, thank you. Is she coming? Is she coming? Alex, do you see her? She's coming? Just let me know when you see her. Okay. Yeah. All right. We are now joined by goalkeeper Haley Kopmeyer. Haley, can you just get us started your thoughts on today's game and kind of the situation you were in?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's just sort of that you never know what's going to happen. And obviously, before the start of the game, I just did what I try to normally do and prepare no matter what. And it's one of those rare instances in a career when you get called upon when, maybe that day, most of the day, you're thinking you might not. But this is why I'm here. And I was ready for it, and I felt ready. And, I felt like I shook the nerves of getting thrown in there off pretty quickly. And overall, from a personal perspective, felt mostly pretty good. And then I think from, a team perspective, obviously we were pretty unhappy with our first half, and we were so much better in the second half. And I think now, for us, we got to just create a few more threats. We get so many corners, we get so many balls across the box. Now let's, we're gonna work on these next couple weeks at being a lot more threatening with those opportunities.
Okay, we'll go to Mike and then Luis.
Haley, this is nothing new for you. Last year you saw some minutes as well. Obviously, how good did it feel just to get some minutes, especially the first minutes of the season as well?
Yeah, I think like it's as you kind of get into a run, the more games you get as any player, you kind of feel a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So obviously would have loved to have had a win and a shutout in your first one, but I felt, pretty good in my positioning and things like that. So, we keep growing, and I think, some of the kind of the kinks that happen with sort of not having a long off season, and then finally getting your first minutes that, the rest of the team starts to work out right away. I'm glad that I got this game now, and I can be a backbone in coming games as we kind of slowly lose more players, and we have younger players stepping in. So for me, I'm obviously you never wish anything to happen to anybody, but when you get called upon, I'm glad I could be there, and I'm glad I'm the one that's there to step in.
Luis?
Sorry. Excuse me.
Sorry. Can you talk about what you saw for the goal?
I saw, our line had kind of dropped down. I saw a long ball came into press, and credit to her. I think this is the part where, she deserves her credit on it. It went behind her, and she kind of pulled out a very nice touch to settle the ball and then get behind it. I knew Shalina was in front of her and had stepped to her, and she took a touch and got a shot off. It hit off Shalina, and sort of I started making my dive. I tried to stretch it further because it kind of just took it a little bit wider than I was, initially was pushing for. So I pushed as hard as I could, and it just snuck in that far corner. So, I think for us, obviously we want tighter defending, but all over the field, it's how can we prevent that long ball? How can we trap them in areas? How can we not let them out easily? You know what I mean? It's not a one player, one moment, anything. And I think we were a little slow in the game and in the first half to get that going, and we needed to do a much better job of trapping people into spaces and tackling and winning the ball back and not giving them so much possession like we did in the second half.
Scott and then Jeff.
You mentioned a few times the second half was so much better than the first. Just what was the difference overall?
We won second balls. We tackled players when they won the ball back. We kept possession. all those pieces of the game, I think, were a lot better. Obviously, that last piece is still something we're searching for a little bit, and getting shots and quality opportunities. I think right now we're in those numbers right now. We're getting a little bit outmatched, but we're starting to. It's just that final pass. It's that final header. It's getting people in on those set pieces and getting up confidently. And when you have what felt like 15 corners in a game, like you just all it takes is one. So for us, I think that's kind of our next final piece. We're not the last two games and not to say only, because obviously you want shutouts every game, but we've given up one goal. So now it's okay. We're dropping that number. We're gonna make it hard as we possibly can to score, and it's gonna click. Eventually, it'll click, and we'll get some.
Jeff.
Did you see what happened to Ash in warm-ups? And does that change, even though you're warming up anyway, does that change your approach?
So a little bit, in the sense that I was off to the side. I actually did not see what exactly happened. I was, obviously she's in the net, and I know she was diving, and I was off to the side, and I was taking shots. And obviously in that moment, your sort of mindset is prep for the unexpected, but also prep for the shooting that's going to happen at the end of warm-up. That's kind of where... make sure you hit the ground. Make sure you're just sort of that. And as soon as that happened, I was like, okay. I stepped in. I started taking shots, crosses. You amp up the warm-up a little bit differently. Obviously, you kind of take over that in the goal role versus just making sure you're warm off to the side. So, yeah, again, from everything we've heard, structurally, everything's okay. It's always a scary situation when that happens. But, I mean, she's so tough. She's, it's at some point somebody, I don't know exactly what goes on. I don't know what the doctor and her spoke about, but at some point somebody makes a call that, that you got to do what's best for the team. And I'm glad I'm an option, and I'm glad I'm here. And, hopefully the team with me behind them didn't feel like they didn't really skip a beat.
Okay. Thank you, Haley.
Is that it? Okay. Thanks, Jack. Thank you, guys.
Hi, guys.
All right. We are now joined by Orlando Pride forward Alex Morgan. Alex, can you just get us started with your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, I think we're definitely disappointed because I feel like we had some really good attacks. I'm personally bummed out because I wasn't able to contribute to the team more than I'm capable of, and I feel like I should have definitely been a little more maybe selfish around the box in trying to get more shots off and making more of an impact. But I think I'm bummed all around just to go away from this team for the next 2 months and not finish on a win here in Orlando.
Start with Mike.
Alex, you just mentioned, obviously, you'll be departing from the team for national team duties. What do you hope to see that the team can kind of accomplish while the national teamers are gone? Marc said it's going to be a process. It's going to take some time. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that's actually the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the style we want to play is a process. And, regardless of what players are on the field, that style won't change. And I think, we've had to adapt a little bit to play a little maybe more direct at times, just because of, giving away easy goals in the first couple of games. But I think that we've cleaned it up a little bit, and I think we were pretty, unlucky not to equalize.
Scott?
Kind of going off of that, how does all the international players leaving affect that process in the long term?
I think it's pretty difficult. I think the teams that have had the same coach over the last couple of years, is probably a little bit easier. We also just have a larger amount of players in general, like a lot of internationals on our team. We've traded for a lot of international spots. I'm pretty sure teams like Chicago have, 1 or 2 international spots. So I think that's going to be difficult for us. And just with the style Marc wants to implement, obviously, I think that it's going to delay that a little bit more. Not delay that, but it's going to lengthen that process a little bit more. It's not, going to be a 2 to 3 month process. It's more of like a 4 to 6 month thing. So I'm looking forward to, after when I get back, to just continuing on and hopefully getting our first win. Well, hopefully the team will get their first win, soon enough when we're away next weekend, I think.
Go to Shane in the back.
Morgan, will you be able to enjoy the next couple of months? I mean, you're playing in the pinnacle of women's soccer, and then you're a gamer, and you got your team back here. So your thought process is probably going to wane a little bit, but will you still be able to have a good time?
Yeah, this is what I love to do. I had a dream since I was a little girl to want to be on the national team, play in a World Cup. And just continuing to be able to live out that is obviously an incredible thing. And hopefully, we continue to have success on the national team. And when I come back here, I'm able to, just be more fluid with my transition, as well as all the other internationals as well, because, it's a good chunk of the team that will be leaving for a good amount of time.
Luis, and then Jeff.
What do you think the Pride needs to do to become more dangerous in the attack?
Well, I think right now, just like the last couple of games, giving up some easier goals, or in the first 2 games, I think that we realized that we needed to lock it down a little bit more defensively, and we had to play like a shape that where we didn't get really threaded through centrally. So I think with that, it was not that it was more defensive minded, but our starting position was a little bit deeper. So I think, we could use more numbers in the attack. I think that we attack with a block, and I think if we can get up our defensive 6, that would help a lot in just the regains, in the attacking third in the central half. But I also think, we just need, for me, I just need to work harder to get more shots off. I feel like I wasn't able to these last couple games, and it's not for lack of effort, but I think that at times, I'm looking for the pass more than the shot, and that's not, I think, like me naturally. So I think I want to just get back to looking to find the opening to get more shots on goal, because we've seen crazy things happen, where you have deflections or slipping or whatever, and if you don't shoot, you can't score.
Jeff?
Obviously, coming in, new coach, new system, it's a process. Are you surprised? I'll put it this way. Has the process taken longer than perhaps you expected? And if so, are you surprised by that?
No, I think it's quite difficult actually to have so many international breaks, and then obviously the upcoming World Cup. So not having the team together collectively, like for a long period of time, not even in preseason. So I don't expect that it would have been faster than it is. I think that we're on track. Yeah, I wish the results were different, of course, but I think that it's what we expected, and no one was expecting to go out game 1 and blow teams out of the water and play our style and like implement that and just like take over on the field. But I think that we definitely wish we would have had more goals in the back of the net. That's for sure.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.